Just give me a moment, guys. I gotta get a couple things set up and then we'll get this show on the road. Just give me a moment, guys. Alright, that's what I gotta do. Almost ready. Okay, we're all set. Quality looks good. We got 2 people watching. Welcome to the channel. This is Reliable Rudy. Everything in this video contains only my opinion and is for entertainment only. Hope you guys enjoy the show. So we're first go over the Nasdaq futures. Now, first we're just on a daily interval. Now we are back negative on our 50, but our 25 looks good. We're still above our EMA right here, getting a gap up on futures at the moment. So let's go to a 15-minute chart. At the moment, I would say the bulls are in favor. We are positive, and we're above our EMA. The bulls right now are looking for a breakout price above this, so we wick right here. It wanted to go, but just wasn't ready yet. I also see that we do have an uptrend built right there, so we want to see that uptrend hold. And I'm sure you can probably say there's something inside of here in some way, shape, or form too, but you know, a little closer with this false breakout to the downside. Looking more long term on a 15-minute chart, same thing. I bet there's something through this that you could say is a trend line, like from here through this. Call this a false breakout of some sort. But I would say for the short term, the bulls are in favor, but that could change, as all it would need for this to turn negative and for this to give up this trend line. If this trend line gives up by the time this video is over, the bears are looking for a breakout price below this wick. So goes on a run. So you guys always hear me say goes on a run, builds a U shape. Well, the same thing for a bear, goes on a run, and then you get this bent fishing rod. You wanted to take out this price, because if you get this to break this trend line, that's going to pull that rod down, and it's going to come retest support down here, which is what you do not want to see. You want to see it just have a clean break through that. But I would say you don't want to see it get underneath that wick, especially, but underneath this moving average, and then you're negative at that point. Not the greatest look, because then the shorts are saying, hey, maybe I can run it down to this support that runs over the last 3 months of 2022. So that's the Nasdaq right now. A little bit of a pullback. We had a lot of green volume come into the market. Now let's see if this can go on a run and build this U shape, and eventually, hopefully, we're talking about a breakout price above this wick before we know it. But let's start with this first candle right now. Let's clear the chart. So we do gap up on the futures, so this gap is still there. Let's go look at this gap on a 15-minute chart. Yeah, the futures that isn't really as reliable with this. It just probably needs to update what the chart looks like. But got a nice shape bottom. This is the market close. Nope, this is market close right here. On this candle we have market close. never breaks below that candle. Looked a little bearish going into the close, and then now this is where we've started this uptrend. So we really want to see this uptrend hold. We'll come back to this before the video ends. Let's go over to oil. Oil, I would say, looks a little bit bearish at the moment. You just crossed over negative negative, could be a fake out, but you do have this double top. Looks like you have some sort of downtrend right here. You don't want to see this end up turning into a channel. Previous high, two lows, but if it does turn into a channel, you do not want to see it crack below this, because then they're saying, hey, we could potentially be going down to retest these lows. But oil looked pretty strong on the day. This was the course of the day from Thursday, so here's Wednesday, and pretty bullish throughout the day. We took a few oil trades. We go over to the daily. So that's just a short-term wedge right there. We're looking for a breakout price above this wick. You know, realistically, if it got above these wicks again, I would say oil looks pretty good. And we are green from the new candle open right here. We are still positive. We expect volume to come into oil. That is what we're expecting based off the daily. So all we need to do is reclaim this. You're already positive right here, about to go positive. If oil can reclaim 81, I would say, how's it going to act with this downtrend? And if it doesn't have any resistance off of that, I would expect it to see a little bit of resistance right there, personally. We're not gonna just, if I go across something, we're not gonna spend too much time with it. It's pretty late and we gotta get up early. I see there's two viewers. Is there anything anyone wants me to go over before I start going over the rest of the watch list? Because we got a long watch list that keeps getting new tickers added to it, and oil catching a bid. So this is exactly what you'd want to see. You got a nice green candle right here, 1 2 3. On your third candle, you're already setting a close above this breakout price. You know, we just tested it. Let's see if it can push over top of that previous candle right here for a potential another leg up. Let's see. But the interesting part about this is, now that I'm looking at it closer, is this is the previous low that we're wicking into. So could this end up being a 1 2 3 4 5 wave structure back down to this support? Well, we don't want it to respect this channel, but it's going to look like a short if it starts curling over like that. Because here's your retracement. You know, you can do it from multiple ways. Never get over your last retracement. Now you can also do it from right here, where anytime I see a 702 rejection, 702, I immediately think that's a wave 1, wave 2. Now you're getting your wave 3. Now you get your wave 4 that backtests the bottom of wave 1, and now you get a wave 5. So a wave 5, you're still trading inside of this channel. I think oil looks fine. It might not even struggle with this previous low. We'll see about that. A cola got a little bearish. I'm sure some stops got triggered today. Yeah, after the earnings, read into the earnings. This is why keep an eye when your stocks have earnings. It's never a terrible idea just to think about your position when you're going into earnings. It, it varies between stocks, of course. I'm not as familiar with AA as what other investors may look like. But goes on a run, builds a nice U shape. You know, I'm sure if you got in, let's see when the official entry is. This is when you go positive, positive. You get the gap up. You break over top of this high. And let's see where your outs would have been. So, I mean, if you got any outs up here, double digits, any outs up here, you're looking at 20+% return. That's not that bad right there. But even the late entries right here. So I'm looking at these candles right through here. Here's your breakout price. 4 goes on a run, builds a U shape right there. It false wicked right there, and then you get the gap up over top of it, shade bottom. You're positive, volume comes into the stock. I'd have to go look through the earnings to know, but it shows right here that they beat. They're still unprofitable. So keep that in mind. That I'm not the biggest fan of trading unprofitable stocks. I always am quicker to sell those ones, I would say. But Airlines caught a little bit of a bid down. This was just unsustainable. I mean, this was clear that this was not going to be sustainable right there. And we had clear rejection from the downtrend. We already had our outs, so we still have a piece of this, knowing that it was probably going to go down. But we do have gap fills right here, so any profits that we had on these 4 trading days, if I wanted to, I could throw them back in off this gap for save myself on those shares. Let's say you got out right there, 10%. Not a terrible ad if you're really thinking that it can be bullish and push through this downtrend. But this previous top just looks a little bit better to me. So you call this a sell window, or a buy window I meant, and then run this window down to the next top, these 2 wicks right here. So this is the window that I would be more enticed with, but then you're below your moving average. So you want to see this go on a run, build a U shape, and then your entry is over here eventually. That is what you'd like to see if you missed your chance at the airlines. But when do we go positive? We go positive right here. I mean, I think our cost average is around this 1380. So I was even late to the party of this breakout. You could have even said early entries break of this wick on this nice green engulfing candle. Bought the consolidation. We could even go and replay it back from this area. Let's go a little bit. Okay, you got this nice green candle. You're about to go positive. Let's just throw this little fib tool right here, and we could say 1330. Any pullbacks to 1330 we can think about, and then halfway from the close to 1330, which is right somewhere in there at 1343. Now let's look at the next candle. Down here, and boom, look at that. The 1330 doesn't get filled, but you at least get one fill in here, and you can take the breakout of the day's high. It's a beautiful example of a potential trade that you could have taken right there, and we are positive right here, so it passes the rules, and it goes on a massive run, and that's what you're looking for. These are the runs that you're looking for, and we did have outs right off the trend line. Sell orders at 1750. I mean, couldn't have been better executed in my opinion, but we're still holding a piece of it. ACCO, flirted with this uptrend. We already have this gap fill identified as, we have a couple wicks right here. This could be a double bottom play. Now it's starting to look like a bent fishing rod if it can give up this trend line. See that trend line? This is why it was kind of flirting with it. But ACCO way extended still. We're still in the overbought range, above, and we are putting a green candle, setting a close right underneath 6. Open price, you'd want to see it open above 6, and you want to see it be able to hold above 6. But ACCO didn't have any profits up here, but we did have some profits that we took on this shoulder at this 590. I like the position that I'm in, and I'm not the most worried about it. Yeah, the trend line was a little worrisome, but we have some really good entries on ACCO. Here's your gap up. I'm pretty sure I have shares bought down here in the 4s, but obviously we built the position over time with this. ACCI looks a little bearish close. At one point in the day I had this chart up and said I'm going to come back to this. Never did. Just must not have gotten the strength. But you can see, tried to show a little strength at the end of the day. You look right here, still negative, so got a little bit of room to go. This last candle looks like it wanted to flirt with going positive, but just didn't have the strength. You see how we're still negative right here. And we are putting a wick towards the bottom end of this uptrend right here. If we can keep tapping that, eventually it's going to form this nice U shape, and we're thinking that we're eventually going to get a breakout price that starts filling this gap. That is what we are hoping for, of course. And dividends coming up. So another potential catalyst if anyone wants to get in. Not a huge dividend. They paid this special dividend, so it's not going to be anything like that. But earnings are far off from this on this one, so a lot of plays out there that could be deceiving you, could potentially have earnings coming up as well. ALSN stopped out of this today. Just gonna need more time. It goes on a run. Let's see if it can respect a higher low right here, which is going to be asking for a lot tomorrow. But this looks like a short all day. You're negative, negative. Here's your flat bottom breakdown from the time before. You know, the shorts are saying, you know, I can probably get it down to this gap fill. Boom, just like that. Bada bing, bada boo. But you do have this downtrend that's going to have to get through for that. So I don't know how attractive that's going to be. Maybe when it starts trading back inside of this wedge, you can see you'll see the shorts get kind of in there, but it's tough to say. AMD, you know, still has this downtrend. Is this confirmed high or low going to be sustainable if it sets a lower high right here, curls over? You don't want to see it respect, and we do have a call it a 64 gap right here. You know, that would be kind of meeting it with the trend line. We have the gnarly gap down through the channel that's been through. When do we take the trade? Just a small position, as there's things that are wrong with this chart in terms of how large this gap is. This is already telling you that, you know, hey, we do have a downtrend that we're in. It's not like we're breaking through a downtrend. This is a nice U shape potentially forming, but I think this date is going to be later on, come middle to end of February potentially. But if it wants to break out before that or pick a direction before that, who knows, it could break to the downside, then I'm all for that. Realistic stop area, you don't want to see it set break yesterday's low price. You know, you can just probably just cut your losses. If it fakes you out and starts turning up, you can always get back in it later. But you do have this gap fill right here that we gapped down today. That's gonna have to fill. Amazon, kind of that same story as AMD. Was trading in this upward channel right here, and boom, gaps down right below it. There were a few of them that looked kind of like this, and that was kind of similar to the Nasdaq, but we are still positive, and Amazon is a little bit different because this gap fill is a lot closer. It's above the moving average. You know, I'm pretty sure it's got the 50 period rolling through here as well. That could hold as support. Uh, I'd like to see this start turning up. I want to see a green day, and the Nasdaq didn't look half bad. So if the Nasdaq looks good, I'd say Amazon. I'd be surprised if this went against you, but who knows? Let's go check back up on the Nasdaq real quick. We'll come back and still holding this uptrend. Looks pretty decent. You know, I would expect this price to be able to push that price. I could be wrong, but maybe we'll have our answer by the end of this stream. Let's continue. Auto Nation actually showing a little bit more strength. We on a 15-minute chart, that is. We go over to a daily. Get that out of the way. You know, as I stated, I would expect this to respect this wedge, but this double top that comes in is at a 702, so potential, boom, boom, boom. There's your wave 3. Look at this pre-built in support that we have. Boom, back test the bottom of it, and off to the races. If it's able to go on a run, it's going to need to push the downtrend. So this one's been on watch for a while. A.O. Smith, you know, it was given a nice inverse head and shoulders look. Was broken through the downtrend in a sense, but started trading back in that. This is why you take profits on trades like this. You're dealing with downtrends, previous highs. Where's our entry? You know, we got in off the break of this week. We had a really good entry on this. One of the first trades we took started New Year. This was the first trading day. And we had a few outs, but now it's going against us full red engulfing. We're going negative, negative. This has already kind of got that head and shoulders look. You know, could you see some consolidation retest to 60? Yes, you maybe could, but I think the shorts are going to be getting ready to take this one over. So probably going to end up getting flattened out on this position, and who knows if it could still be green. But it depends on where I exit tomorrow. ASTS, you know, it held 5. You know, I think we got stopped out of this early. I think I put a stop underneath this low right here, and I might have gave a few cents into that 5, so maybe not the best cut, but we are still negative right here. Could easily go on a run, build a U shape. It's got this gap that's filled, which is what you want to see. But we already had plenty of outs up here, especially when this wanted to double top in the 550. So we had our outs, and we got flat on the trade. We took the break of 5, had a few ins before 5, had a few over 5. Sitting at 502 right now. Open price, you want to see it good above 5. AT and F, I think we can about take this one off of the watch. The watch is getting a little out of hand. But confirmed negative, still negative. I don't think there's much strength right here. Already filled this gap. Shorts are going to be looking to trade it back down to 120. Well, yeah, let's get rid of this one. How do I? Yeah, we're getting rid of that one. BABA showed pretty good strength. We can actually look at the Hong Kong market real quick and look at it on. Yeah, and this is getting ready. This looks good right here. I mean, 2080. 2080 gap fill in Hong Kong. Where's our gap fill in the United States? Oh, this is a 15-minute chart. Yeah, if we go back, let's go back to just the BABA chart right here, because I'm more familiar with this in the Hong Kong, but it looked pretty good over on the Hong Kong right there. I think this is a 15. Let's switch over back to a daily. You got mixed up a little bit. Let's just clear the drawings, get a clean chart. Gap fill. I've been calling for 120. We've had a few outs already on this and stopped out of a few shares at bottom wick, but we're still holding a pretty large size position on this. Highly elevated, looks good for continuation. Let's go back to the Hong Kong real quick. I mean, there we are, about to break over top of this wick. Looks pretty damn good. Good strength, the gap's up, tries to show you this bent fishing rod, but where are we? We're positive. Volume comes into the stock. Boom, boom, boom. 3 increasing green candles right there to push for a new high. Is this going to have another leg up? You know, I think that it looks pretty good. Got a nice uptrend right there. Could just be trying to form this wedge pattern, and then boom. That's what you're going to be looking for. We can come back to BABA and watch it break out. Be big, bearish. I mean, we got stopped out of this not even today. This was the day before. Took a really good trade on this. Had I believe it was a 62 entry, if I want to say. And we were late to it. This was quick. You had to be on this real quick. So here's your break at 57. We got in at 62 right there. End of the day. We can go back to a 15-minute chart on this. Yeah, it was quick. There's your break. Boom. Straight up. And I just said, yeah, we got to market. We were throwing orders in off this previous week. We said this has no time. We got to get into this now. But yeah, this was one of those you just got to take profit on. BKKT. Or BKKT. We entered into this, tried to hold at 2, boom, stopped out open of the day. Now we re-entered. I would love to say I got the entry at this 180 break, but we actually got the break of the downtrend. So I think it was a 188, and I had a 190 as well in there. And yeah, now we're just hoping for an open price. We hope that this crypto bull run can kind of keep going. But had some good volume come in at the end of the day, and we liked the look of it. We liked the other trades we took during the day, and liked what we did today, so we felt like we could take a little bit of risk. Looks good, or it looks bearish as can be. About to give up this flat bottom breakdown right here. Go to a day chart. Okay, on a day chart, elevated pretty good. You're testing previous highs, basically. Looks pretty good for continuation, I would say. Holding this uptrend, you can probably, if you had a good entry on this, we come back, here's your entry. Boom. And you can buy the consolidation, and you even could have FOMO'd in a little bit right here, and you'd still be positive. Pretty good strength on this. B-pop. Really would have been testing the short, or the, really would have been testing the stop losses. I'm glad I didn't have a stop loss in. But we did see that we had this gap, filled the gap, got good volume off the gap. We can actually go back and look at that. So where's our gap down? Right here, gap down, gaps up intraday. Tries to fill the intraday gap, couldn't. I mean, it's not too often that I see where it ends up filling intraday gap, or where you get a gap up intraday exactly where you want it to see a bullish close setting closing at day's high. So BPOP probably one to keep on watch tomorrow. If it can start, how many of them have I showed you? Goes on a run, builds a nice U shape right here. This one I would like to see consolidation. Let's just take this candle. 66.75. Go figure that 66.75 is that first retracement, and then you can have an order in halfway between, which meets up at 70 or 67 flat. Come on. Buy those whole quarters right there, enter into it, see if you can catch a bid for a new day's high. Uh, but you could be patient with this one as well. We are negative right here. Wait for it to curl back positive, and that's it. You got the AOK. BTI still bearish. I mean, we couldn't have had a better exit on this. We've seen that it's flirting with this trend line, and we got out before the gap down. So I mean, that's saying something alone right there. But yeah, it looks bearish until we can get this to curl. Goes on a run, builds a U shape. How many of them have I showed you like that? BYD, Boyd. You know, we've already had our outs on Boyd. We knew we had the gap right here. We didn't have to worry about it today. Okay, now tomorrow, if we get any price under 57, that's going to be a little bit alarming. But we do have a gap fill here at 56.25. So you could see potential retracement back down to that gap, which is going to be testing the stop losses for sure. But you do have a wick on this candle. You have some buying pressure. Let's see it open above 57.50, and let's see it turn into a green candle. Bearish all day. Guys, when I first started live streaming, I said this is going to be a flat bottom breakdown, big red candle, trying to hold, boom. Flat bottom breakdown. What do we have marked? We said the shorts are going to try and get this down to 280. Guys, it's respected this uptrend like no other. Looked like a short all day. And even zoomed out right here, you can see. Look at this double top right here. Indicator for it all. Cardinal Health, we said this looked like a short multiple times, and now it's actually starting to turn into a short. Flat bottom breakdown, same exact story. You know, you have a little bit of support right here. You could say maybe the shorts are waiting for this to give up, but once that gives up, I mean, you got a short down to this previous high. We already had it marked before I came to the chart. You're off of the uptrend. Cardinal Health, watch out. CC, starting to has a nice wick right into this gap. That's not a half bad look, but you do have another gap fill right here. Now you can't rely on these gap fill buyers right here this time around. Let's see it hold above 32.25 and especially 32. You do not want to see it give up 32, but how many of them have I showed you? It goes on a run, builds a U shape. No. CF, we said we want to see it start respecting this channel. It actually closed inside of it. Channel could be set a little bit more like that. But yeah, we're still down here in this negative. Let's give it a little bit more time. You're off of the uptrend. And this looks almost more like a flat bottom breakdown than anything if this starts rolling over. Could be talking about picking this stock up. Previous high. You know, oh man, now that I'm zoomed out a little bit. How about this one, guys? Boom. Left leg. Built the neckline. Right bottom. Higher than the left one. Extended right leg. Back test the neckline. Draw it up. Go into your account tomorrow and put an order in for CF Industries down at 56. One day probably get filled. I'm not saying go and short it, but it does look like a short. Looks bearish. bullish. Man, that looks bullish. Broke out of that channel. That was an aggressive channel. We did just get stopped out of this. We just cut the position, market it out. I didn't even put a stop order in. Now, I wouldn't be surprised. Goes on a run, build a U shape right here. We're putting wicks into the downtrend that it rejected for 2 years. So, I could definitely see this curling up. This had a lot of good volume come into it. Keep that one on watch, actually. I might potentially look to re-enter, but I gotta see it start curling up. Cons, finally got a little bit of pullback in cons. Not in this. I missed the trade. Had the trade and just didn't pull the trigger. Cows wanted to turn bearish, getting ready to go negative, negative. Is this uptrend gonna hold? How many of them have I showed you? Goes on a run, build a U shape. Well, it's respecting this downtrend. We want to see this turn green. If the cows cannot turn green, realistic stop order below yesterday's high, right there, wouldn't look half bad. Because if it gives up that price, the shorts are saying, hey, I can get this down to 46.30. That's what I would say that they're going with. CrowdStrike, we took some profit off the gap yesterday or the day before. We said, okay, I'm glad we cut a little bit off of this. It did not look good, as is. We're still far down here in this negative area. Let's wait for this to turn positive, but we did want to play aggressive with this because of how well it was respecting this channel. Boom. It's kind of why we flirted with it right there. But can it push the downtrend is going to be the question with this. You can draw this downtrend however you like. This, I mean, just keeping it on the outside of it. Is it going to have the strength to get to the top end of that channel? Potentially. I don't know. Cisco looks like a short. CTRA showed good strength today. Breakout price. We were marking this today. Just needs to get up to these upper 25s. Getting ready to go positive, so this could be an early signs of an inverse head and shoulders look right here, but it's gonna have to act with this previous low. Could be a 1, 2, 3, 4. Already back tested at 5. You'd like to see it set a higher low, confirmation of higher low, and then you'd want to see it go on a run. You can throw that one on watch. Didn't worry about the fall in this one at all. We said we've already had plenty of outs right here. We took the 58 break. We thought that we were going to get this 68 gap fill. We weren't that lucky, so we're still holding a piece of it. But how many of them have I showed you? Goes on a run, build the U shape. See if it can start doing that. DAL, same story with the airlines. Respect that downtrend. DBX, bearish, bearish. See how well it respected that downtrend. I said let it work itself out of this downtrend, and then you can pick it up over here at a later date. Dell, same story. Let it work through this downtrend. Pick it up at a later date. Denbury, we added a position in Denbury. Why? We were positive. We didn't get the entry up here because it was given this bent fishing rod. We didn't buy it on this red candle either. We bought it today. Why did we buy it today? Because oil looks strong. And look at the close on this. What'd we take? We took wick break. Didn't FOMO in right away. Had an order. Boom. Triggered. Boom. Triggered. Threw an order in off the top of this wick after I got triggered at 87.42. I think I put an order in at 87.40 and said, if it comes back down and retraces, we want more shares of this. It looks pretty damn good. Dino, we missed the entry on Dino. We were looking at it. Where is the open price? I think we caught wind of this right here. We said wick top right here. Could have bought it again, but I just didn't pull the trigger on Dino. I don't know why. We go over to a daily chart. Yeah, looked pretty good. Breaking out of the top end of this channel. Barcoded a long time. How many of them have I showed you? Goes on a run. Boom. But as stated in the last live stream, watch how it acts with this, and watch how it acts with this. But nice U shape in the making right there. Disney respecting the downtrend. Can it catch a bid? We're positive. Put a wick towards the gap today. Decent looking candle for having this gap right here. I gotta say that. Disney looks pretty decent. But see how it acts with that downtrend. DOW. Strong. DVN. Bought a little bit of DVN, but we know it's not positive yet. But we couldn't help ourselves. Took the break out of this and put another order in. Got filled and off to the races. Good volume at the end of the day. Not half bad. DXC. Looks like a breakdown. Looks like a short. Let's go to the daily chart. Could have faked some people out. A lot of stocks looked like this, where they had this upward channel and then gap down right below it. EAF. Same story a little bit here with EAF, but showed a little bit more strength. Had this upward channel, gap down below it. Wickbot, we still highly elevated on the EAF. You know, this one has a pretty clean chart. It had this gap right here. News related on this day. Boom, retraces back. Starts to fill this gap. I'm sure the shorts got a little bit happy on these days, but then quickly had to liquidate their positions. That's what you're seeing with the EAF. EEFT goes on a run, builds a U-shape. It's already showing early signs of it. Goes on a run, builds a U-shape. Emerson looks like a short. Boom, flat bottom breakdown all day, guys. There's your flat bottom. Gaps down to it. Boom. Look at all the stop losses getting triggered. Boom, 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 boom. All the stops getting triggered on that. Emerson was going on a pretty decent run, though, I will say. Didn't have the strength to get down to this gap fill. I think someone asked me about Emerson. I said, put orders in at 70. Put orders in at 70. He never got to 70. He was screaming at me. Bro, you said orders at 70. It only got down to 72.50. I said, fuck, man, you can't be perfect every time. 72.50 looks pretty good. EOG, never started the position. EOG, opportunity was there. Didn't pull the trigger on it. Could have. A lot of oil looked like this. Boom, triggered in. EQT, you know, not half bad actually. Fills this gap, gets good buying pressure. Here's your gap fill. Boom, double bottoms off of it. Early entry, break out of this price. You don't want the people that bought this breakout to start losing money. Excel, we started a position in Excel. Why did we start the position? Curling back. How many of them have I showed you? Goes on a run, builds a U shape. Now this could get rejected in the middle here somewhere, and then build another U shape. But we're looking for a breakout price above 1773. We got a confirmed higher low. Looks like a pretty solidified upward channel right here. Not half bad channel right there. EXP looks a little bearish, closed below the EMA, but still elevated. Goes on a run, builds a U shape. You know, it's this trend line's got a hold, but now we're negative. Looks like it's respecting the channel. I'd give this one a few weeks. Fang, positive. I'm sure it had an entry, fast and all. La 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 la. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna make it through the watch list today. Is there any specific that I want to keep on watch? Tilray, all the weed plays are probably going to go into this, but that reminds me, IIPR is a new one that we're throwing on the watch list. Big gap down today, and I want to see how it acts with this uptrend. I'm expecting for a breakdown price down to this support is what I'm looking for. And, I might be aggressive with it at that support. I don't know. I gotta see if there's any other news related stuff with this one, but we can throw this one on the watch list. SoFi, I thought looked relatively strong, given that it had this channel that had a gap down below. A lot of good volume came in the SoFi. Multiple entries in the SoFi. The 490 break was the most aggressive one, but then we orders off top end of 5. RRC, we can talk about this trade. Turned against me a little bit, but really strong close, about to go positive. Oil, I thought looked pretty good, but bearish close with this double top. I was a little shocked. We took the break out of these wicks and reloaded. This was a reload back into the wicks, and got a really good action off of that. What was the other one? NRG. Um, yeah, this is a flat bottom break if I've ever seen one. Energy just looks a little bit bearish right now, but still could give a little bit of time. We'll talk about the other live trade that we took, and then we will call it a day, I think. Pretty tired. FIS. You can always tell the ones that I'm looking at, huh? Yeah, trading in a decent channel right here. Has a decent uptrend. And it had the volume. And we're looking for a breakout over top of this wick price right here. Nice wedge pattern. Bearish close though. Had really good entries on this, I felt like, and we're still holding it. The bearish close didn't stop us from holding it. But the people that take this break, you don't want them to start losing money. A little bit bearish, but that could be a big profit take from somebody who bought fat right there. And yeah, that is going to complete the technical analysis. Let's look at the NQ real quick before we call it. Is there any tickers that you guys want me to look at before I leave? NQ holding 11.4. Trying the wick past our breakout price. We're still positive on both. Doesn't look that bad. Google. Almost forgot about Google. Kinda looks like a bent fishing rod, just a little bit. Curling just a little bit too much, but we do have a 95 gap that we're looking to hit. We go over to a day chart. Is this a confirmed higher low? Goes on a run, builds a U-shape type of look. It could look like that, but how many of them have we seen where it goes on a run, fakes you like it's going to build that U-shape, and then rejects you off of some sort of resistance, which, this gap fill could be resistance, but showed good relative strength today on a day where the market was a little bit red. So, yeah, Google, we can go into a 15-minute chart real quick and look at the entry. Entry happened relatively soon. Here's the open price. Boom. Open price gaps down. We seen the wick. We said, ooh, Google's wicking like that. Up to 93. Came right back down. Where do we take the entry? Right at the break at 92.50. I think my fill actually came in at 92.57. That's what you get from marketing in sometimes. Waited for it to get there, tried to market in, and the price had already run up to 57 on me. So I guess when you zoom in like that, there's your 52. Boom, just like that. I mean, it doesn't look like that much, I guess, with Google, but had a really good entry on Google. I thought that it showed pretty good strength compared to the market, and it it showed throughout the course of the day. FVRR, we didn't panic with this one. We look at the daily. We still held positive. We still have wick buyers from the previous low. I want to see this. We did wick up to that gap fill. Let's see it actually truly fill that gap. And yeah, another trade. We did take another trade. We did take a trade in PDCE. This is an oil play. Pfizer, we were watching at. We were trying to maybe look for an opportunity to sneak in for this dividend right here. But earnings coming up shortly after that. And on a 15-minute chart, it just never gave that opportunity. We were watching it, and we just said, it had good increasing volume right here. Could have put orders in. But look, we never really get positive. We get positive on this candle. Just probably wasn't watching it at the time. And on a daily chart, it's just too bearish. It was too bearish to take a trade on it, in my opinion, but it does have this uptrend right here. So look for contact with this uptrend, potentially. 44 flat, potential move. It still has a little bit of ways to go down, I think. But that is going to complete the analysis. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream, and we will see you on the next one.